Love is one of the most universal human experiences, yet it is expressed in countless ways across time and cultures. From the passionate poems of ancient Egypt to the courtly romances of medieval Europe, love has shaped societies, inspired art, and influenced the lives of individuals. Despite these differences, the desire to connect with others, to care, and to be cared for remains a constant thread in human history. Understanding love in historical and cultural contexts requires recognizing that love is not a single, simple emotion. It can be romantic, familial, platonic, or spiritual. Romantic love often dominates modern discussions, but in many societies, familial duty, community obligations, and religious devotion shaped how love was expressed. Social norms, gender roles, and class hierarchies also influenced the ways people showed affection. For instance, in some ancient societies, arranged marriages were common, yet love could still grow through shared rituals, letters, or symbolic gestures. Across history, love has been celebrated and preserved through myths, literature, art, and rituals. Myths often explored divine or heroic love, highlighting the power and dangers of desire. Literature, poems, letters, and plays, offered personal reflections on longing, devotion, and heartbreak. Art, from sculptures to paintings, captured physical affection, symbolic gestures, and idealized beauty. Rituals, including marriage ceremonies, festivals, and courtship practices, provided structured ways for love to be publicly recognized. These expressions not only reflect personal feelings, but also communicate cultural values and social expectations. The way love has been expressed also shows the intersection of emotion with social and political life. In ancient civilizations, marriages could serve as political alliances, yet romantic love was celebrated in private letters or poetry. In the medieval period, love could be idealized and ritualized, creating a culture of courtly devotion that existed alongside practical marriage arrangements. In Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, love intertwined with spiritual beliefs, community bonds, and artistic expression, showing that affection often transcends personal desire to become a cultural symbol. By exploring how different societies celebrated love, we gain insight into both the universality of human emotion and the diversity of its expression. Love has inspired some of humanity's most enduring creations. From the hieroglyphs carved on ancient tombs, to epic poems and illuminated manuscripts, to symbolic dances and intricate rituals. These artifacts of love show that while the methods of expressing affection may differ, the core experience, the desire to connect and be understood, remains the same across time and place. This series will take you through the rich tapestry of love across civilizations. We will look at the romantic rituals of ancient Egypt, the passionate myths of Greece and Rome, the poetic ideals of medieval Europe, and the spiritual and artistic expressions of Asia, Africa, and the Americas. It will highlight how societies shaped love according to their values and traditions, and how people found ways to celebrate it, often in ways that still resonate today. Love, as a human experience, is timeless. Though the symbols and rituals change, the underlying feelings, desire, devotion, longing, and joy, are recognizable across centuries and continents. By examining these historical expressions, we not only understand the past, but also gain a deeper appreciation of love's enduring power in our own lives. Let's talk about love in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt offers some of the earliest recorded expressions of love in human history. Love was not only a personal emotion, but also a social and spiritual concept, intertwined with family, religion, and art. Egyptians believed that love could bring joy, strengthen relationships, and even connect the human and divine worlds. From romantic letters to symbols carved in tombs, love in Egypt was celebrated in ways that reveal both personal devotion and cultural values. Marriage in ancient Egypt was both a social contract and a personal relationship. While families often arranged unions to consolidate wealth or status, romantic affection was highly valued and frequently expressed in private. Couples were encouraged to share mutual respect, companionship, and sexual intimacy. Hieroglyphs, paintings, and reliefs often depict couples holding hands, embracing, or partaking in daily life together, highlighting emotional closeness as an ideal part of marriage. Egyptians had specific words for different forms of love. Mer referred to affection or desire between partners, while Kaith signified the broader, spiritual love that could exist within family or toward the gods. Love between spouses was considered both natural and sacred, forming a harmonious part of life that contributed to social stability. Wedding practices in Egypt were relatively simple compared to later European traditions, but they were meaningful. Marriage contracts, sometimes inscribed on papyrus, outlined the rights and responsibilities of each partner. Gifts and tokens were exchanged to symbolize commitment and affection. A bride might receive jewelry or a protective amulet, while the groom might offer goods or symbolic tokens of wealth and devotion. Religion also played a central role in marriage. Couples often sought blessings from Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and joy, to ensure happiness and fertility. The presence of gods in daily life meant that love and marriage were not purely human affairs. They were entwined with the divine. Festivals and communal celebrations marked significant life events, such as marriages and births, reinforcing the social and spiritual dimensions of love. Egyptian mythology is rich with stories of love and devotion. The most famous example is Isis and Osiris, a couple whose love transcended death. Osiris's murder by his brother Set and Isis's relentless quest to restore him symbolized loyalty, devotion, and the enduring power of love. Their story inspired countless depictions in art, literature, and religious rituals. Hathor, goddess of love and music, was another central figure. She represented joy, beauty, and romantic desire. Temples dedicated to Hathor often included carvings and inscriptions celebrating her role in relationships, courtship, and fertility. Festivals in her honor were lively events, blending music, dance, and symbolic rituals that encouraged social bonding and romantic encounters. Egyptian art is a vivid record of romantic and familial love. Tomb paintings frequently show couples holding hands, gazing at each other, or sharing intimate moments, emphasizing emotional connection as much as social status. Jewelry, amulets, and figurines were often engraved with symbols of love, such as intertwined lotus flowers or depictions of the heart, reflecting both personal affection and protective symbolism. Literature also preserved the language of love. Ancient Egyptians wrote poems that celebrated desire, longing, and devotion. Some papyrus texts are personal love letters, addressed from one individual to another, expressing yearning, playful teasing, or deep admiration. These letters demonstrate that romantic expression was as much about emotional honesty as it was about social convention. One famous papyrus, the Love Songs of the New Kingdom, includes lines that speak to the joy of being close to a beloved, showing that poetic expression of desire has deep roots in Egyptian culture. Love letters were a common form of personal expression. Written on papyrus or ostraca, pottery shards, these letters were often intimate and playful. They included romantic overtures, promises of devotion, and poetic imagery, such as likening a lover's beauty to the lotus or the sun. These writings reveal the human side of ancient Egyptians, the same longing, joy, and playfulness we associate with love today. Personal artifacts, such as amulets and jewelry, carried symbolic meaning in romantic relationships. Heart-shaped amulets or figurines of couples were exchanged as gifts to represent devotion and protection. Even daily objects could serve as reminders of love, showing that Egyptians infused ordinary life with personal and emotional significance. Beyond private expressions, love was celebrated publicly through rituals and festivals. Religious ceremonies often involved invoking deities to bless couples and families. Music, dance, and offerings were central to these events, creating spaces where social and spiritual life intersected with personal affection. Festivals dedicated to Hathor, for instance, combined joy, play, and social interaction, reinforcing bonds of love and community. These cultural practices also reflect the broader Egyptian worldview, in which personal happiness, social harmony, and divine favor were interconnected. Love was not only about personal satisfaction, but also about contributing to family continuity, social stability, and spiritual fulfillment. The ways in which ancient Egyptians celebrated love continue to influence our understanding of romance, devotion, and artistic expression. Their letters, poetry, and art offer timeless insights into human emotion, showing that love is both a personal experience and a social force. By studying Egyptian love practices, we see how affection can be expressed through words, symbols, and rituals, and how these expressions help define cultural identity. From hieroglyphs carved on tomb walls to intimate papyrus letters, love in ancient Egypt was carefully documented, celebrated, and revered. It was a powerful force that connected people to each other, to society, and to the divine, a testament to the timeless and universal nature of human affection. Let's talk about love in ancient Greece. Love in ancient Greece was complex, multifaceted, and deeply woven into both daily life and the imagination of its people. Unlike modern notions of romance, Greek love encompassed a wide spectrum of feelings, from passionate desire to intellectual companionship and spiritual connection. It was explored in philosophy, celebrated in myths, immortalized in art, and expressed in poetry and letters, all reflecting a society that valued both personal emotion and social order. Philosophers of the time pondered the nature of love in ways that continue to influence thought today. Plato, in his famous work Symposium, described love as a path to understanding beauty and truth, presenting the idea of a love that transcended mere physical attraction to reach intellectual and spiritual heights. Aristotle, meanwhile, emphasized friendship and mutual respect as essential components of meaningful relationships, linking emotional bonds to virtue and moral development. These philosophical explorations illustrate that the Greeks saw love not only as an emotion, but as a central force in cultivating character and connecting with the divine. Romantic and erotic love played a significant role in Greek life, both in practice and in imagination. The figure of Eros, the god of desire, symbolized the sudden and often uncontrollable nature of passion, capable of bringing joy, confusion, and even chaos. Mythology was filled with stories of gods and mortals entangled in love and longing, illustrating both the ecstasy and the danger of desire. The tale of Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, and her various lovers exemplified love as a powerful force that could unite or disrupt lives, while stories like that of Helen of Troy emphasized love's potential to shape history, sparking wars and heroic quests alike. These myths served as cultural touchstones, teaching lessons about loyalty, temptation, and the transformative power of affection. Marriage in ancient Greece was often influenced by social and economic considerations. Families arranged unions to secure wealth, property, or political alliances, and romantic love was not always the primary factor. However, personal affection was not excluded. Many couples developed deep emotional bonds over time. Courtship could involve formal rituals, poetry, music, and social gatherings where partners became acquainted. Physical gestures of affection, such as holding hands or exchanging gifts, were common, and romantic devotion could be celebrated privately even when marriage was primarily a social arrangement. Art and literature provide rich evidence of how love was experienced and idealized. Greek vase paintings frequently depict intimate scenes between couples or erotic encounters, illustrating both sensual and emotional connections. The poetry of Sappho, one of the most celebrated lyric poets of antiquity, conveys longing, desire, and admiration with vivid imagery and personal insight. Her work, often addressed to women, demonstrates that expressions of love were diverse and could transcend societal expectations, highlighting the depth and nuance of human emotion in Greek culture. Other poets, such as Catullus in later periods, continued this tradition, exploring love, jealousy, and devotion in ways that resonated deeply with audiences. Letters and inscriptions also reveal a more personal side of Greek love. While formal writings focused on myth or public praise, private letters conveyed longing, playful teasing, and intimate reflection. Lovers would write to each other using metaphors drawn from nature, comparing a beloved's beauty to the sun, flowers, or the stars. These intimate exchanges highlight the universality of human emotion. The same joys, anxieties, and yearnings that people feel today were felt vividly in ancient Greece. Social norms influenced the ways love was expressed, particularly concerning gender and status. Relationships between men and women, as well as between men, could take different forms depending on age, social class, and cultural expectation. In some city-states, same-sex relationships were recognized and even idealized within certain social contexts, emphasizing mentorship, intellectual companionship, and emotional intimacy alongside physical attraction. These dynamics demonstrate that Greek society had a sophisticated understanding of desire, valuing emotional depth and mutual respect as much as passion. Festivals and public celebrations offered additional avenues for love to flourish. Events such as the Panathenaic Games and religious ceremonies often included communal feasting, music, and dance, creating spaces where social interaction and courtship could take place. These gatherings allowed lovers to meet, express admiration, and reinforce bonds through shared ritual and participation, blending the personal and social dimensions of affection. The lasting impact of Greek love on later cultures is profound. Their myths, philosophy, and art have inspired countless generations, providing archetypes of romance, devotion, and tragic longing. Concepts such as courtly love, intellectual companionship, and even the idea of romantic tragedy have roots in Greek thought and storytelling. By studying Greek expressions of love, we gain insight into how humans have long sought to balance passion, reason, social duty, and personal fulfillment. Love in ancient Greece was celebrated as a force that could elevate the soul, inspire great deeds, and shape human destiny. It was not confined to private feelings but permeated art, literature, philosophy, and daily life. The Greeks understood that love could be playful, dangerous, spiritual, or transformative, and they immortalized these experiences in ways that continue to resonate today. Through their myths, poetry, and visual culture, we see love as a multidimensional force, one that guides, challenges, and enriches human experience across generations. Let's talk about love in ancient Rome. Love in ancient Rome was both a deeply personal experience and a reflection of social norms, legal structures, and cultural ideals. Unlike in Greece, Roman society placed significant emphasis on marriage as a social and economic institution, yet love and desire were still celebrated in poetry, art, and ritual. Romans recognized that affection, passion, and devotion could exist alongside practical concerns, and they explored love in ways that ranged from the playful to the tragic, from public ceremonies to private letters and graffiti. Marriage in Rome was a central aspect of social organization, often arranged to secure alliances between families, ensure the continuation of lineage, or consolidate wealth. The legal framework of marriage defined property rights, inheritance, and the duties of husbands and wives. Despite these formal structures, romantic affection and sexual desire were integral to relationships. Couples were encouraged to cultivate mutual respect and companionship, and emotional attachment was often expressed through letters, gifts, and private ceremonies. The ideal Roman marriage combined practical stability with personal intimacy, allowing love to flourish even within socially regulated boundaries. Roman poets celebrated love in ways that were both personal and public. Ovid, in his Ars Amatoria, offered guidance on courtship, seduction, and maintaining passion, reflecting a culture that acknowledged the art of love as a skill to be honed. Catullus wrote intensely personal poems about desire, jealousy, and heartbreak, often addressing his beloved with unflinching honesty. These literary works reveal that Romans were attuned to the complexities of emotion, recognizing both its pleasures and its dangers. Love could elevate the spirit, inspire creativity, or lead to obsession and suffering, and these dynamics were central to Roman understanding of human relationships. Mythology played a key role in shaping Roman ideas about love. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, and fertility, and her son Cupid were central figures, embodying the power and unpredictability of desire. Myths recounted the affairs of gods and mortals, the triumphs of lovers, and the consequences of passion, providing cultural models for both behavior and storytelling. Legendary tales, such as that of Dido and Aeneas, highlighted love's potential to inspire heroism while also demonstrating its capacity for tragedy. These narratives reinforced the idea that love was both a personal experience and a force capable of influencing fate, politics, and social relations. Art and visual culture in Rome reflected similar themes. Frescoes, mosaics, and sculptures frequently depicted romantic and erotic scenes, capturing moments of intimacy, longing, or idealized beauty. Public art celebrated family bonds and marital devotion, while more private pieces, found in homes or villas, allowed individuals to explore sensuality and desire in subtle, symbolic ways. Everyday objects, including rings, jewelry, and love tokens, conveyed affection and were often exchanged as gifts between lovers, demonstrating that material culture played a meaningful role in expressing emotion. Letters and graffiti provide particularly vivid insight into private expressions of love. Excavations in Pompeii and Herculaneum revealed personal messages scratched on walls, ranging from playful teasing to passionate declarations. Papyrus letters often included poetic imagery, comparisons to nature, and intimate promises, showing that Romans valued communication and emotional connection. These records highlight the universality of human experience. The same excitement, longing, and vulnerability evident in modern relationships were present in Roman life thousands of years ago. Festivals and social rituals also facilitated expressions of love. Lupercalia, celebrated in mid-February, combined fertility rites, feasting, and playful courtship, allowing young men and women to meet and form connections. Religious ceremonies often sought divine favor for romantic or marital success, reinforcing the connection between personal affection and the sacred. Social gatherings, banquets, and theatrical performances provided opportunities for courtship, admiration, and emotional expression within structured, culturally sanctioned settings. The role of social norms and status shaped who could love whom and how. Marriages were often influenced by family, class, and political considerations, and adultery or socially inappropriate relationships could carry consequences. Yet Romans also celebrated extramarital passion in literature and art, acknowledging the tension between desire and duty. The complexity of Roman love lies in this balance. It was at once private and public, playful and serious, regulated by law yet inspired by emotion. Roman culture also emphasized the idea that love could inspire personal growth, moral reflection, and civic virtue. Relationships were seen as teaching moments, revealing character, fostering loyalty, and encouraging restraint or generosity. Poets and philosophers explored how love could elevate the human spirit, challenge social expectations, and shape one's destiny. The stories of both gods and mortals illustrated the transformative potential of love, showing that passion, devotion, and longing were integral to the human experience. In examining love in ancient Rome, it becomes clear that it was far more than an emotion. It was a cultural force, influencing literature, art, law, religion, and daily life. Romantic desire, marital devotion, and familial affection were all celebrated in their own ways, reflecting the complexity of human relationships. Romans documented love through poetry, letters, visual art, and ritual, leaving a rich record that continues to inspire and inform our understanding of romance and devotion. Love in Rome was multifaceted. It could be playful, erotic, tender, tragic, or inspiring. It was a force that shaped personal lives and social structures, intertwined with spiritual belief and political reality. By studying Roman expressions of love, we gain insight into how desire, devotion, and affection were celebrated in a society that valued both emotion and order. The Romans remind us that love is enduring, universal, and capable of inspiring creativity, loyalty, and reflection across generations. Let's talk about love in medieval Europe. Love in medieval Europe was both a personal experience and a highly codified social phenomenon, influenced by religion, class, and cultural ideals. While marriage was often arranged for political or economic reasons, romance and affection were celebrated in ways that shaped literature, art, and ritual. The medieval period developed a unique vision of love, blending devotion, chivalry, and longing into a system known as courtly love, which had a profound influence on European culture for centuries. Marriage during this era was primarily a social contract. Families arranged unions to secure property, alliances, or social status, and romantic attraction was not the main concern. Nevertheless, emotional bonds could and often did develop within these arrangements. Couples were expected to show loyalty, respect, and cooperation, and the ideal of marital harmony was frequently represented in literature and religious texts. While practical concerns guided formal unions, love found expression in personal correspondence, gifts, poetry, and private gestures that allowed individuals to navigate societal expectations while maintaining personal devotion. Courtly love emerged as a powerful cultural concept in this period. Popularized by troubadours and poets in southern France, the idea revolved around noble, often unattainable love, typically outside the bounds of marriage. Knights devoted themselves to a lady, performing acts of valor and writing poetry to express admiration and longing. This form of love emphasized devotion, courtesy, and emotional intensity rather than physical possession, creating a framework in which romantic affection could be celebrated as an art form. Courtly love was codified in rules of behavior and often idealized the beloved as virtuous, distant, and inspiring, highlighting the interplay between desire, respect, and social ritual. Literature flourished as a vehicle for exploring love. Epic romances, such as the Arthurian legends, Dante's Divine Comedy, and Chaucer's works, portrayed love as a force capable of inspiring heroism, suffering, and moral reflection. These stories celebrated the joys of devotion, the pain of separation, and the transformative power of affection. Poetry, particularly from troubadours, captured the subtleties of admiration, jealousy, and longing, showing that love could be both deeply personal and socially significant. Through these texts, the ideals of love were shared, debated, and celebrated, influencing generations of readers and listeners. Religious influence was central to the way love was understood and expressed. Christianity shaped ideas of morality, virtue, and devotion, encouraging believers to view love not only as a personal emotion, but also as a reflection of spiritual values. The concept of divine love often paralleled human love, with spiritual devotion serving as a model for earthly relationships. Saints' lives, biblical narratives, and religious poetry emphasized loyalty, sacrifice, and compassion, reinforcing the idea that love was morally and socially meaningful. Romantic love could exist alongside religious obligations, providing a complex interplay between desire, duty, and spiritual aspiration. Art and material culture provide vivid insights into medieval expressions of love. Illuminated manuscripts, tapestries, and cathedral carvings frequently depict lovers, courtly scenes, or symbolic motifs representing desire and devotion. Jewelry, rings, and gifts served as tangible expressions of affection, often exchanged between partners or offered to signify loyalty and admiration. These artifacts highlight how love was woven into everyday life, celebrated through both aesthetic expression and social ritual. Letters and personal writings preserved the private dimensions of medieval love. Nobles and commoners alike composed letters that expressed longing, devotion, and playful teasing. Such correspondence often used metaphor, allegory, and references to nature or religious themes, allowing writers to communicate emotion within the constraints of social expectations. These documents reveal the human side of love in a society often governed by formal rules, showing that desire, joy, and heartache were universal experiences. Festivals and public celebrations also created opportunities for love to be expressed. Weddings, feasts, and local fairs allowed young people to meet, interact, and demonstrate admiration or interest. Music, dancing, and poetry contests provided structured spaces for courtship, while communal participation reinforced social bonds and established norms for romantic behavior. In some cases, festivals incorporated playful rituals, symbolic games, or gift exchanges that celebrated desire and attachment in socially accepted ways. The tension between social obligation and personal emotion shaped the distinct character of medieval love. While marriage was often practical, courtly ideals emphasized devotion, respect, and emotional depth. Romantic passion could be idealized, unattainable, or secret, yet it was highly valued as a catalyst for personal growth, artistic creation, and moral reflection. Love inspired both the imagination and the conduct of individuals, guiding behavior while elevating emotion to a celebrated art form. By the late medieval period, these ideals had spread widely across Europe, influencing literature, music, and social customs. The emphasis on emotional expression, poetry, and personal devotion created a cultural framework in which love was both a personal experience and a shared social value. Medieval love was not simply an emotion. It was a lens through which society explored virtue, loyalty, and human connection. Its legacy can be seen in subsequent European literature, artistic motifs, and even modern romantic conventions. Love in medieval Europe combined passion, duty, and imagination in ways that continue to captivate audiences today. It was a force that inspired poetry, guided behavior, shaped social structures, and reflected spiritual ideals. By examining these expressions, we see how humans have long sought to balance desire, morality, and social expectation, creating a rich tapestry of emotional life that resonates across time. The medieval conception of love reminds us that affection can be both deeply personal and culturally significant, shaping the human experience in profound and lasting ways. Let's talk about love in Asian cultures. Love in Asian cultures has been expressed in ways that blend personal emotion, spiritual meaning, and artistic elegance. Across China, Japan, and India, love has been celebrated through poetry, literature, visual arts, and ritual, often intertwining romance with philosophy, religion, and social duty. These expressions reveal that affection is not only a private feeling, but also a reflection of broader cultural values, spiritual ideals, and societal norms. In China, love was shaped by philosophy, family structure, and social expectation. Confucian ideals emphasized filial piety, duty, and harmony within the family, which influenced romantic relationships and marriage practices. Marriage was often arranged to strengthen family alliances and maintain social order, yet personal affection and romantic longing were still highly valued. Classical Chinese poetry reflects the tensions between duty and desire, capturing the beauty of love while acknowledging the constraints of social convention. The Peony Pavilion, a famous Ming Dynasty play, tells the story of a young woman whose love transcends death, illustrating the power of desire and devotion to defy societal and mortal boundaries. Poets frequently used imagery drawn from nature, blossoming flowers, moonlit nights, flowing rivers, to express longing, admiration, and the fleeting nature of love, creating a delicate and enduring tradition of romantic expression. Visual art in China reinforced these ideals. Paintings, scrolls, and ceramics often depict couples in intimate moments, walks in gardens, or shared appreciation of poetry and music. These images celebrate emotional connection while emphasizing refinement, elegance, and the moral virtues associated with love. Love was expressed not only in private life, but also as an idealized part of culture, reflecting the harmony between personal emotion and societal values. In Japan, the Heian period, 794 to 1185 CE, is particularly famous for its sophisticated and subtle approach to love. Aristocratic society celebrated romantic and emotional expression through literature, poetry, and aesthetics. The Tale of Genji, often regarded as the world's first novel, explores the complexities of desire, courtship, and emotional intimacy among nobles, portraying both the joys and the sorrows of love. Poetry, especially waka, allowed men and women to exchange carefully crafted messages, filled with imagery of nature, seasonal change, and longing. Romantic love in Japan often carried a symbolic dimension, with fleeting moments, subtle gestures, and artistic expression holding deep emotional significance. The exchange of poems, letters, and gifts was an integral part of courtship, reflecting both refinement and emotional sincerity. Marriage in Japan was similarly influenced by social structures and family expectations. Political alliances and social hierarchy often dictated formal unions, yet emotional bonds could develop alongside these arrangements. Symbolic acts, such as the giving of handcrafted gifts, flowers, or poetry, allowed lovers to express attachment within socially acceptable boundaries. Seasonal festivals, garden walks, and shared cultural activities provided additional spaces for romantic interaction, blending personal desire with aesthetic and social norms. India, with its rich spiritual and literary traditions, celebrated love through mythology, poetry, and ritual. Stories from the Mahabharata and Ramayana depict both heroic and romantic devotion, emphasizing loyalty, sacrifice, and divine connection. The love of Krishna and Radha, central to Bhakti traditions, illustrates the intertwining of human desire with spiritual longing. Their relationship, celebrated in poetry, dance, and visual art, portrays love as both ecstatic and transformative, connecting the personal with the divine. Classical Indian poetry, such as the Gita Govinda, explores the emotional intensity of separation and reunion, highlighting the beauty, pain, and transcendence of romantic devotion. Marriage customs in India were similarly shaped by social and spiritual considerations. Arranged marriages were common, with rituals designed to ensure harmony, fertility, and family continuity. Symbols such as henna designs, jewelry, and ceremonial gifts conveyed affection, commitment, and cultural meaning. Love was not only personal but deeply embedded in communal life, ritual, and the spiritual understanding of human relationships. Artistic expressions, including classical dance, temple carvings, and miniature paintings, visually conveyed the nuances of romantic devotion and desire, showing the integration of love into cultural and spiritual practice. Across China, Japan, and India, love was often expressed through subtle, symbolic, and artistic means. Letters, poetry, visual arts, and performance were all central to romantic culture, providing socially acceptable ways to convey desire, admiration, and longing. Nature and spirituality frequently served as metaphors, linking human emotion to the broader world and imbuing love with philosophical and symbolic depth. Festivals, rituals, and communal celebrations reinforced these values, showing that love was both a personal feeling and a cultural force that shaped identity, morality, and social bonds. The richness of Asian love traditions lies in their ability to balance passion and propriety, desire and duty, emotion and artistic expression. Poets, playwrights, and artists preserved love in enduring forms, capturing the intensity of human feeling while aligning it with spiritual and cultural ideals. Whether through a carefully written poem, an intimate painting, or a ritualized celebration, love was celebrated as a force that elevated life, inspired creativity, and connected individuals to the moral and spiritual order of society. These cultures also highlight that love is not solely about possession or physical attraction. Emotional intimacy, spiritual connection, and mutual admiration were equally important. Whether through letters in China, courtly poetry in Japan, or devotional songs in India, people sought ways to express attachment, admiration, and desire within socially meaningful frameworks. Love was celebrated as a human experience that could enrich both the individual and the community, reflecting the universal importance of emotional connection across time and place. Love in China, Japan, and India gain insight into how human emotions are expressed differently according to cultural, philosophical, and spiritual traditions. The blending of romance with artistic expression, ritual, and moral reflection shows that love is both deeply personal and socially significant. These examples reveal the enduring human desire to connect, inspire, and be inspired, and they demonstrate that love, in all its forms, transcends boundaries of geography, time, and language. Let's talk about love in Middle East. Love in the Middle East has been expressed through poetry, myth, ritual, and art for thousands of years, reflecting the richness of human emotion across diverse cultures and civilizations. From the earliest cities of Mesopotamia to the courts of Persia and the poetic traditions of the Arabian world, love was both a personal feeling and a social and spiritual phenomenon. Across these societies, affection, desire, and devotion were celebrated in ways that intertwined with religion, political life, and artistic expression. In Mesopotamia, one of the world's earliest civilizations, love was already being documented in writing. Clay tablets from Sumer and Akkad reveal love poems, songs, and letters addressed to spouses, lovers, and even deities. These texts show that romantic and erotic desire was not only acknowledged but celebrated in everyday life. Marriage was often arranged for practical reasons, including family alliances, social stability, and economic security, but affection between partners was highly valued. Love was expressed through gifts, poetry, and ritual, and couples were encouraged to cultivate loyalty, companionship, and sexual intimacy. Divine figures, such as Inanna, the goddess of love, fertility, and desire, were central to the cultural understanding of passion and devotion. Inanna's stories portray love as a transformative force, capable of influencing both human life and the natural world, demonstrating the deep interconnection between emotion, religion, and society. Persian culture, particularly during the classical and medieval periods, developed a rich tradition of poetic exploration of love. Poets such as Hafez, Rumi, and Sa'di celebrated both divine and human love, blending emotional intimacy with spiritual insight. Romantic poetry in Persia often explored the tension between longing and fulfillment, separation and union, desire and devotion. The figure of the beloved was frequently idealized, serving as both a source of inspiration and a mirror for spiritual reflection. Persian miniature paintings, illuminated manuscripts, and calligraphy complemented these literary works, creating a visually expressive language of love that celebrated beauty, elegance, and emotional depth. Festivals, music, and courtly gatherings provided additional spaces for admiration, flirtation, and the performance of affection, reinforcing love as a cultural as well as personal force. In the Arabian world, love was a central theme in pre-Islamic and classical poetry. Poets composed qasidas and lyrical verses celebrating beauty, longing, and desire, often depicting romantic adventures, unrequited love, or devotion to a beloved. Poetry was a socially recognized form of expression, allowing individuals to communicate intense personal emotions in a highly aestheticized way. With the spread of Islam, religious principles influenced the expression of love, emphasizing loyalty, moral conduct, and spiritual connection. Love became intertwined with ideas of virtue, honor, and devotion, and poets often combined personal passion with ethical reflection. Romantic storytelling, songs, and celebrations were woven into the cultural fabric, demonstrating that love was both a private feeling and a public art. Marriage and courtship in the Middle East reflected these cultural values. Arranged marriages were common, often intended to preserve social alliances and family honor. Yet within these structures, love was expressed through letters, poetry, music, and gifts. Romantic attachment could be subtle or highly symbolic, communicated through words, gestures, and objects that conveyed affection, admiration, and devotion. Weddings and communal celebrations incorporated music, dance, and poetry, allowing individuals to express personal emotion while adhering to social and religious norms. Visual art and material culture also played a central role in celebrating love. Persian miniatures often depicted lovers in gardens, palaces, or symbolic landscapes, illustrating both intimacy and idealized beauty. Calligraphy and decorative arts incorporated verses of love, connecting literary expression with visual aesthetics. In Mesopotamia, cylinder seals, figurines, and inscriptions recorded romantic motifs and domestic life, offering insight into how affection was integrated into daily life and social practice. These artifacts show that love was not only felt but also performed, recorded, and celebrated in tangible ways. The Middle Eastern understanding of love combined the personal, the social, and the spiritual. Desire, longing, and attachment were acknowledged as central human experiences, while cultural norms, religion, and social expectation guided their expression. Love was seen as a powerful, sometimes transformative force capable of shaping character, inspiring creativity, and connecting individuals to larger social and spiritual frameworks. The blending of erotic, romantic, and spiritual dimensions made love in the Middle East both deeply intimate and culturally meaningful. Across these civilizations, poetry, letters, rituals, and art preserved love as an enduring human experience. From Sumerian tablets to Persian ghazals, and from Arabian lyrical verse to ceremonial celebrations, people found ways to express longing, admiration, and devotion within socially and spiritually significant contexts. Love was celebrated as a force that could inspire, console, and transform, linking personal emotion to community values, artistic expression, and divine ideals. Studying love in the Middle East reveals that affection is never merely private or instinctual. It is intertwined with culture, philosophy, religion, and art. Romantic attachment, loyalty, and desire were given structure and meaning through poetry, ritual, and social practice, providing a lens through which individuals and societies explored the human experience. These rich traditions demonstrate the universality of love, showing that across time and geography, humans have sought to connect, express, and celebrate their emotions in both practical and transcendent ways. Ultimately, love in the Middle East was complex, symbolic, and highly expressive. It embraced both joy and longing, desire and devotion, and celebrated emotional connection as central to human life. Through literature, art, ritual, and social practice, these civilizations preserved the beauty and power of love, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire and resonate across the world. Let's talk about love in Africa. Love in Africa has been expressed in ways that combine personal emotion, communal values, and spiritual meaning, reflecting the continent's vast diversity of cultures and traditions. From oral storytelling to ritual celebrations, music, dance, and symbolic art, Africans have long celebrated love as both a private and public force, connecting individuals to family, community, and the spiritual world. Love is rarely seen as purely personal. It is intertwined with identity, social bonds, and cultural continuity, highlighting the collective nature of human relationships. Oral traditions have been central to African expressions of love for centuries. Folk tales, proverbs, and songs often explore themes of devotion, desire, loyalty, and emotional intelligence. Storytellers passed down narratives that celebrated the courage, fidelity, and cleverness of lovers, embedding lessons about social behavior and moral responsibility. Love was depicted not only between couples, but also within families and communities, showing that affection extended beyond romantic desire to include bonds of care, duty, and solidarity. Songs of love, performed at gatherings or during work, allowed individuals to express longing and admiration while reinforcing social cohesion, turning personal emotion into communal experience. Marriage rituals were another key avenue for celebrating love in African cultures. Bride price, dowries, and ceremonial exchanges were common, serving both practical and symbolic purposes. These practices demonstrated respect, commitment, and social alliance, while also allowing couples to express mutual affection through gifts, music, and shared celebration. Polygamy was practiced in some societies, and while it added complexity to relationships, it also created networks of kinship and care, emphasizing cooperation, loyalty, and emotional connection among families. Weddings were vibrant events, often lasting several days, blending dance, song, communal feasting, and ritual performance, making love a public, celebrated, and spiritually blessed experience. Symbolism played a central role in expressing love in African cultures. Jewelry, clothing, scarification, and body art often carried meanings associated with romantic or familial devotion. Patterns, colors, and designs could signify marital status, romantic intention, or deep emotional bonds. Gifts and symbolic objects reinforced connection and commitment, allowing individuals to communicate affection in culturally recognized ways. These visual and material forms of expression complemented verbal and performative traditions, showing that love could be expressed through multiple senses and mediums. Spiritual beliefs also shaped love practices. In many African societies, ancestors, spirits, and deities played active roles in human relationships. Love was understood as a force that could strengthen social harmony, protect families, and bring blessings. Rituals and prayers often sought divine favor for marital happiness, fertility, and enduring devotion, reflecting a worldview in which personal desire and communal well-being were deeply intertwined. By connecting love to spiritual practice, these cultures elevated affection from a private feeling to a morally and culturally significant force. Art, music, and dance preserved and celebrated love in daily life. Traditional songs often recounted tales of devotion and longing, using metaphor and rhythm to convey emotional depth. Dance allowed lovers to display courtship, admiration, or shared joy within communal settings, making emotional expression visible and interactive. Visual arts, from carved figures to symbolic textiles, captured themes of fidelity, beauty, and intimacy, providing tangible representations of human connection. Through these diverse forms, African cultures celebrated love in ways that were both emotionally resonant and socially meaningful. Across Africa, love was not confined to private relationships. It was inseparable from community, tradition, and spiritual belief, reflecting a holistic understanding of human connection. Romantic affection, familial devotion, and communal loyalty were all celebrated and reinforced through ritual, performance, and symbolic practice. By linking personal desire to social and spiritual frameworks, African cultures created enduring, meaningful ways to honor love. Studying love in Africa reveals a vision of affection that is dynamic, socially integrated, and deeply symbolic. The continent's diverse traditions show that love is both universal and culturally specific, shaped by social norms, spiritual beliefs, and artistic expression. Whether expressed through oral stories, marriage ceremonies, music, dance, or symbolic objects, love in Africa connects individuals to one another, to their communities, and to the spiritual world, illustrating its enduring significance across generations. Love in Africa is a living, communal, and celebratory force. It transcends the private sphere, shaping cultural identity, social cohesion, and spiritual life. Through the preservation of oral tradition, ritual, art, and performance, these cultures demonstrate that love is not only a human emotion, but also a guiding principle that strengthens bonds, inspires creativity, and enriches community life. Let's talk about love in Americas. Love in the Americas has been expressed in diverse and deeply symbolic ways, shaped by indigenous traditions and later influenced by European colonial practices. Across North, Central, and South America, romantic affection, family devotion, and communal bonds were celebrated through ritual, storytelling, art, and social custom, reflecting the interconnectedness of personal emotion and community life. Love was not solely an individual pursuit, but a force that reinforced cultural identity, social cohesion, and spiritual understanding. Indigenous cultures across the Americas developed unique systems for courtship and marriage that emphasized communal participation, symbolic gestures, and emotional expression. In many societies, young people engaged in dances, games, or festivals as part of courtship, allowing them to demonstrate admiration, compatibility, and respect within socially recognized frameworks. Marriage was often arranged or guided by family elders, but love and affection played an important role in sustaining relationships over time. Rituals, gift exchanges, and symbolic acts, such as beadwork, woven items, or shared ceremonial objects, allowed individuals to communicate attachment and devotion in culturally meaningful ways. Oral traditions were central to expressing love. Stories, songs, and myths often highlighted romantic devotion, loyalty, and cleverness, teaching social values while celebrating human emotion. These narratives portrayed love as a force capable of inspiring courage, creating social harmony, and connecting individuals to the spiritual world. For example, Native American folktales frequently explore themes of longing, reunion, and devotion, demonstrating the cultural importance of both emotional depth and social responsibility in romantic and familial relationships. Songs of love were performed during communal events, reinforcing connections and sharing the joy of affection with the wider community. Art and material culture also played a vital role. Totems, pottery, textiles, and carvings often incorporated symbolic motifs that conveyed love, devotion, or connection. In many cultures, these objects were more than decorative. They carried social and spiritual meaning, serving as reminders of loyalty, beauty, and commitment. Jewelry, clothing, and ceremonial items could indicate marital status, romantic intention, or family affiliation, allowing love to be communicated visually and materially. Art became a language of affection that transcended words, embedding personal emotion within collective cultural expression. The arrival of European colonizers brought new social, legal, and religious frameworks that reshaped how love and marriage were practiced. Colonial laws and Christian ideals influenced courtship, marriage arrangements, and family structure, sometimes restricting traditional expressions of affection while introducing new forms, such as formalized wedding ceremonies and written love letters. The blending of indigenous and European practices created a complex cultural landscape in which romantic and familial devotion were negotiated within both traditional and colonial contexts. Despite these changes, indigenous forms of love and courtship often persisted, adapting creatively to new social realities while maintaining symbolic and communal significance. Festivals, ceremonies, and communal gatherings were important venues for love to be expressed and celebrated. Weddings, seasonal festivals, and spiritual ceremonies often included music, dance, and storytelling that allowed couples to display affection and participate in social bonding. Public recognition of partnerships, combined with ritual blessing, reinforced the social and spiritual dimensions of love. These communal events illustrate that romantic affection was inseparable from cultural and social life, linking the personal with the collective. Letters, oral poetry, and later written accounts provide insight into private expressions of love in the Americas. Individuals conveyed longing, devotion, and admiration through songs, letters, and symbolic gifts, showing that intimate feelings were valued even when constrained by social norms or political circumstances. Romantic expression often incorporated metaphors from nature, spirituality, or everyday life, demonstrating the universality of human desire and the culturally specific ways it was articulated. Love in the Americas was thus both a private and public force, reflecting individual emotion and social values simultaneously. Indigenous traditions emphasized the integration of romantic, familial, and communal bonds, while colonial influence introduced new rituals and norms that reshaped practices without erasing long-standing cultural ideals. Across time, love has been celebrated through storytelling, art, ritual, music, and daily life, revealing the depth, diversity, and resilience of human affection. Studying love in the Americas highlights the ways in which emotion, culture, and social structure intersect. Romantic and familial devotion were not isolated feelings, but central to community identity and spiritual understanding. By expressing love through ritual, art, and storytelling, these societies affirmed the importance of human connection, continuity, and the shared celebration of affection. Ultimately, love in the Americas demonstrates that emotional expression is both culturally shaped and universally human. From indigenous courtship dances to the adaptation of colonial rituals, people found ways to honor desire, loyalty, and devotion within social and spiritual frameworks. These practices show that love is not only a personal experience, but a guiding force in shaping communities, art, and cultural memory, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire and resonate today. Let's talk about evolution of romantic expression in modern era. The modern era has transformed how love is experienced and expressed, reflecting profound changes in society, technology, and cultural norms. While the core human emotions of desire, devotion, and longing remain constant, the ways people demonstrate affection have evolved dramatically over the past few centuries. Courtship, marriage, and romantic communication are shaped by shifts in social structure, gender roles, and cultural expectations, offering both new freedoms and new complexities in the pursuit of love. During the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe, romantic expression began to shift from strictly social or familial considerations toward individual choice and emotional connection. Literature and poetry played a significant role in shaping the ideals of love, emphasizing personal sentiment and emotional depth. Writers like Shakespeare, John Donne, and later the Romantic poets celebrated passion, devotion, and the transformative power of love, creating models of intimacy and longing that resonated across social classes. Novels, plays, and letters provided both instruction and inspiration, portraying love as a force that could inspire courage, moral reflection, and artistic creation. The notion that marriage could be guided by affection rather than solely by economic or political necessity became increasingly accepted, particularly among the emerging middle classes. The 19th century further solidified the idea of romantic love as central to personal fulfillment. The rise of the Romantic movement in Europe emphasized emotion, imagination, and individual experience, celebrating longing, devotion, and the idealization of the beloved. Love letters, poetry, and diaries became essential tools for communicating desire and intimacy. Social rituals, such as formal courtship, dances, and family-approved visits, allowed lovers to meet within structured, socially acceptable settings. At the same time, advances in print culture enabled the mass production of novels, poetry, and etiquette guides, spreading cultural ideals of romance far beyond elite circles. Love was increasingly understood as both a personal right and a social ideal, intertwining emotional fulfillment with moral and aesthetic sensibilities. The 20th century brought rapid changes in the ways people expressed love. Advances in communication, including the telephone, telegraph, and later digital technology, allowed individuals to connect across distances, transforming courtship and romantic expression. Mass media, film, and literature popularized narratives of passion, longing, and devotion, shaping cultural expectations and ideals of romance. Music became a major vehicle for emotional expression, with love songs conveying desire, heartbreak, and joy to audiences worldwide. Cinema and later television offered visual models of romance, showing couples in intimate, dramatic, or comedic scenarios, reinforcing ideas about desire, fidelity, and emotional connection. These cultural forms helped normalize the expression of private feelings in public, making emotional transparency an expected aspect of romantic life. Social movements also influenced modern expressions of love. The 20th and 21st centuries saw growing recognition of individual rights, gender equality, and sexual orientation, creating opportunities for diverse expressions of desire and affection. Romantic relationships increasingly emphasized mutual respect, partnership, and emotional compatibility. Same-sex relationships, once hidden or criminalized, became more visible and socially accepted, while debates about consent, equality, and emotional labor reshaped expectations within heterosexual and queer partnerships alike. The modern era reflects a broadening of the cultural understanding of love, allowing it to encompass diversity, inclusivity, and personal autonomy alongside traditional values of devotion and fidelity. Technological innovations continue to transform how love is initiated and maintained. Dating apps, social media, and instant messaging provide new platforms for connection, creating both opportunities and challenges for intimacy. Digital communication allows for immediate, ongoing expression of affection, but also introduces new dynamics of performance, expectation, and emotional labor. Online platforms can connect individuals across cultural and geographic boundaries, reflecting the globalized nature of modern romantic life. Yet even in this digital age, the core human desires for closeness, understanding, and emotional connection remain unchanged, echoing the practices of centuries past. Love in the modern era is also reflected in visual and material culture. Photographs, gifts, jewelry, and symbolic items continue to express affection, while literature, film, and music provide narrative frameworks for understanding desire, devotion, and heartache. Weddings, anniversaries, and public celebrations of love combine traditional ritual with contemporary creativity, blending historical practices with evolving cultural norms. Public demonstrations of affection, from hand-holding to social media posts, illustrate how private emotion is increasingly performed in public spaces, reflecting broader social acceptance of emotional transparency. The emotional intensity of modern love is both personal and cultural. While technology, media, and social structures shape how desire is expressed, the fundamental experiences of longing, devotion, and connection remain consistent across time. Contemporary love builds on centuries of human expression, preserving ideals of fidelity, passion, and emotional resonance while adapting to new social and technological realities. Literature, art, and music continue to explore the complexity of relationships, capturing the joys, challenges, and transformative power of love in ways that resonate with audiences worldwide. Examining the evolution of romantic expression in the modern era reveals that love is a dynamic interplay between individual emotion and cultural context. Social norms, technological tools, and artistic media provide frameworks within which desire is articulated, while human feelings, joy, longing, devotion, and heartbreak, remain timeless. Modern love is diverse, adaptive, and reflective of broader cultural values, yet it is rooted in the same fundamental need for connection that has driven human relationships throughout history. The modern era demonstrates that love is not static. It evolves alongside society, technology, and cultural expectation, while retaining core human truths. Desire, devotion, and emotional intimacy continue to shape lives, inspire creativity, and foster connection. By studying how romantic expression has changed from the early modern period to today, we gain insight into both the universality of human emotion and the diversity of its cultural manifestations, showing that love remains a vital, enduring, and adaptable force in human life. Love in contemporary global culture reflects both continuity and transformation. While the core human emotions of desire, devotion, and connection remain constant, globalization, technology, and social change have reshaped how love is expressed, understood, and experienced across the world. Romantic relationships today exist within a complex web of cultural, social, and technological influences, creating new opportunities for connection while challenging traditional norms and expectations. One of the most striking aspects of modern love is its diversity. Social acceptance of different sexual orientations, gender identities, and relationship structures has expanded the ways in which love can be experienced. Same-sex relationships, polyamory, and non-traditional family arrangements are increasingly recognized in many societies, reflecting a broader understanding of emotional and romantic connection. Legal recognition of same-sex marriage and partnership rights in many countries further supports the idea that love is not only personal, but also socially and legally significant. At the same time, cultural traditions continue to shape expectations around courtship, marriage, and family, demonstrating that love is both universal and culturally contextual. Technology has transformed the ways people meet, communicate, and maintain relationships. Online dating apps, social media platforms, and instant messaging provide opportunities to connect across distances, cultures, and communities, creating a globalized arena for romance. Virtual communication allows for constant interaction and immediate expression of affection, while also introducing new dynamics such as digital intimacy, curated self-presentation, and online courtship rituals. Technology has blurred the boundaries between private and public expression of love, enabling both greater visibility and new forms of emotional negotiation. Despite these changes, the fundamental human desires for connection, understanding, and emotional closeness remain unchanged. Global media, including film, television, and music, continues to shape ideals and expectations of love. Romantic narratives in movies, novels, and television series present models of devotion, passion, and emotional resilience, influencing both personal desires and cultural norms. Music, especially love songs, remains a universal medium for expressing longing, joy, and heartbreak, transcending language and geography. These artistic forms both reflect and shape contemporary understandings of romance, showing how emotion, culture, and creativity are intertwined. Visual culture, including social media imagery and personal photography, also allows individuals to perform and share expressions of love in public spaces, creating both personal and communal narratives of affection. Cultural exchange has further expanded the vocabulary of love. Globalization has introduced cross-cultural courtship practices, rituals, and symbols, blending traditional expressions with new forms of intimacy. People may celebrate romantic milestones with both local and international customs, combining traditional ceremonies with modern gestures such as travel, digital messaging, and personalized gifts. The fusion of global practices demonstrates that love adapts to changing social, technological, and cultural environments, while retaining universal qualities of connection, commitment, and emotional resonance. Social movements have played a major role in reshaping love in contemporary culture. Feminism, LGBTQ+ activism, and advocacy for emotional and sexual autonomy have challenged historical restrictions on desire and expression, promoting ideals of equality, consent, and mutual respect. Romantic relationships today increasingly emphasize partnership, shared responsibility, and emotional communication, reflecting broader societal values of fairness, autonomy, and mutual fulfillment. While inequality, cultural expectation, and social pressure continue to influence love, contemporary movements highlight the potential for individuals to redefine connection according to personal and ethical principles. The modern era also reflects changing attitudes toward marriage and long-term commitment. While marriage remains an important institution in many societies, cohabitation, delayed marriage, and non-traditional family structures have become more common, reflecting evolving priorities in personal and professional life. Love is increasingly understood as a choice guided by emotional compatibility and personal fulfillment rather than solely by social, economic, or religious obligation. These shifts show how cultural context, social norms, and personal autonomy intersect to shape modern romantic expression. Despite these transformations, fundamental aspects of love remain constant. Desire, attachment, and devotion continue to inspire artistic expression, social rituals, and personal reflection. Emotional highs and lows, the joys of connection, and the challenges of separation and misunderstanding are as universal today as they were thousands of years ago. Contemporary expressions of love, whether through digital communication, public performance, or private ritual, continue to affirm the enduring human need for connection and emotional intimacy. Global culture has also expanded the possibilities for romantic imagination. People today draw on literature, film, music, and digital media from around the world to imagine and shape their own experiences of love. Cross-cultural exchange allows individuals to learn new ways of expressing affection, combining traditional gestures with innovative, personalized forms of devotion. Festivals, public celebrations, and community gatherings provide spaces for love to be performed, celebrated, and recognized collectively, blending private emotion with social visibility. In essence, contemporary global culture demonstrates that love is simultaneously timeless and adaptive. While the ways it is expressed evolve in response to technology, social change, and globalization, the core experiences of longing, attachment, devotion, and emotional resonance persist. Romantic connection continues to inspire creativity, strengthen bonds, and shape human behavior, showing that love remains a vital force in both personal and societal life. By examining love in the contemporary era, we see a pattern that links past and present. Humans have always sought to connect, communicate, and celebrate emotion, adapting expression to cultural and social contexts while maintaining the essential experience of desire and devotion. Globalized communication, social movements, and artistic expression create unprecedented opportunities for emotional connection, yet the fundamental human need for intimacy, understanding, and commitment remains unchanged. Contemporary love, like love throughout history, is both a reflection of cultural values and a deeply personal, universal human experience. Ultimately, love in today's world is diverse, dynamic, and inclusive. It is shaped by technology, media, and global exchange while remaining grounded in timeless emotional truths. From private devotion to public celebration, romantic and familial bonds continue to define human experience, proving that love, in all its forms, is an enduring, adaptive, and transformative force in society. Throughout history, love has been a constant force in human life, shaping emotions, relationships, art, literature, and culture. From the earliest civilizations to contemporary global society, people have sought to express desire, devotion, and connection, adapting their practices to social norms, spiritual beliefs, and cultural expectations. While the forms, rituals, and expressions of love have evolved, the core experiences, longing, attachment, joy, and heartbreak, remain universal, connecting humanity across time and geography. In ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Greece, and Rome, love was both a personal and societal force. Egyptians intertwined affection with family, religion, and the divine, expressing love through letters, poetry, and symbolic art. Greeks explored love philosophically, mythologically, and artistically, emphasizing both intellectual and erotic dimensions of desire. Romans celebrated devotion, eroticism, and companionship, leaving behind poetry, frescoes, and personal correspondence that documented the intensity of human emotion. These societies demonstrate that love was never solely private. It was embedded in cultural values, social obligations, and spiritual beliefs, reflecting a holistic approach to human connection. During the medieval period, love took on highly codified and idealized forms. Courtly love, celebrated in literature, poetry, and ritual, emphasized devotion, admiration, and emotional intensity, often beyond the bounds of marriage. At the same time, arranged marriages continued to anchor relationships in social and economic frameworks, blending practical duty with personal feeling. Religious belief shaped moral expectations and informed artistic and literary expression, ensuring that love remained both a private experience and a shared cultural value. Across Asia, love was similarly integrated with philosophy, spirituality, and aesthetics. In China, Japan, and India, poetry, literature, ritual, and art conveyed desire, longing, and devotion, often linking personal affection with moral, spiritual, and social ideals. Lovers expressed themselves through symbolic gestures, artistic creation, and carefully crafted communication, showing that emotional expression could be both deeply intimate and culturally significant. In the Middle East, Mesopotamia, Persia, and the Arabian world cultivated rich traditions of romantic and spiritual love. Poetry, myth, art, and ritual celebrated desire, loyalty, and devotion, emphasizing the transformative power of affection. Across Africa and the Americas, love was intertwined with community, ritual, and spiritual practice. Oral storytelling, song, dance, and symbolic gifts reflected cultural norms while allowing for personal expression. These traditions demonstrate that love is not merely a private emotion, but a social, spiritual, and artistic force that strengthens bonds, conveys values, and preserves memory. The modern era and contemporary global culture have expanded the possibilities for love, introducing new technologies, social freedoms, and cross-cultural influences. From letters and novels to digital messaging and social media, people have continuously adapted the ways they express emotion. Globalization and social movements have challenged historical restrictions, opening space for diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, and relationship structures. Love in the modern world balances individual desire, social expectation, and cultural expression, reflecting both personal fulfillment and societal values. Despite these innovations, the core human experience of love, its intensity, vulnerability, and transformative potential, remains unchanged. Across all cultures and historical periods, certain themes recur: devotion, longing, desire, emotional connection, and the celebration of human intimacy. Love inspires art, literature, ritual, and social cohesion. It shapes human behavior, guides moral reflection, and strengthens the bonds between individuals, families, and communities. While the ways people express love vary according to social norms, technology, and cultural context, the underlying emotional experience is universal, demonstrating the continuity of human sentiment through time. Studying love across civilizations allows us to see how humans have navigated the balance between personal emotion and social expectation, desire and duty, private feeling and public celebration. From hieroglyphs and poetry to music, dance, literature, and digital media, humans have continually sought to express affection, understand desire, and celebrate connection. These expressions reflect both the universality of emotion and the richness of cultural diversity, showing how love can adapt while retaining its essential power and meaning. Love is a force that transcends boundaries of geography, time, and social convention. It connects individuals to one another, inspires creativity and devotion, and shapes both personal lives and collective culture. Whether expressed in an intimate letter, a poem, a ritual, or a digital message, love affirms our humanity, teaching empathy, loyalty, and emotional resilience. Across the millennia, from ancient civilizations to the contemporary global stage, love remains central to human experience, a timeless, adaptable, and transformative force that continues to shape our lives, our societies, and our shared cultural heritage.